The night was supposed to be quiet in Robinson, Texas, the kind of night where rain taps lightly on rooftops and the town settles into its usual calm. But on April 5th, 2023, a single call to 911 shattered that quiet. A resident, sounding uncertain but concerned, reported what seemed like nothing more than a brush fire out near Hans Circle, a small street on the south side of Waco. New construction had been happening nearby, so smoke wasn't entirely unusual, but something about this fire felt wrong. There were no workers, no burn permits, and the flames were too strong for a simple pile of brush. When officers arrived, the storm was already rolling in. Rain spattered onto their uniforms, and hail began to spit from the sky. Their headlights cut through the smoke, revealing what initially looked like a few burning logs. But as they approached, the truth hit them like a punch to the gut. It wasn't wood. It was a human body, engulfed in flames, burned almost beyond recognition. The officer closest to the fire grabbed an extinguisher and tried desperately to smother the flames, rain mixing with smoke and steam around him. Even in the chaos, one detail stood out. Something small, white, and moving at the edge of the darkness. A dog, a white labradoodle, soaked from the rain, barking non-stop, refusing to leave the burning body. Officers tried to coax the dog closer, but it stayed near the flames, pacing, crying, circling the scene as if torn between fear and loyalty. One officer wondered aloud, "Is that her dog? Is it trying to protect her or trying to show us something?" No one yet knew who the victim was. No ID, no wallet. The fire had destroyed nearly everything. But the dog stayed. Even as hail started pelting the ground, even as officers tried again and again to get close enough to examine the remains, the dog darted around them, never aggressive, but desperate. It wouldn't run away. It wouldn't go home. It wouldn't leave the body. For investigators, that dog was the first clue. As night turned into early morning, a canopy was set up over the scene. The rain finally slowed, the fire was fully extinguished, and the dog, still lingering, was eventually collected by animal control and scanned for a microchip. The scan revealed one word: Titan. And Titan belonged to someone named Mandy Rose Reynolds, a 26-year-old woman from San Marcos, Texas. Police called the number listed on Titan's tag. No answer. They left a message. Minutes later, the phone rang back. A woman's voice, confused, nervous, claiming her dog had run away. She said she'd been traveling, said Titan had slipped out at a gas station, said she'd been searching. But as detectives asked simple, routine questions, her story cracked. Her details shifted. Locations didn't line up. Timelines didn't match. She sounded irritated, defensive, and strangely eager to end the call. And there was one more problem. The woman on the phone said she was Mandy Reynolds, but the burned body in the field might be Mandy herself. And detectives were now wondering, if they weren't speaking to the real Mandy, then who were they talking to? What investigators uncovered next would expose a chilling deception and reveal the horrifying truth behind Titan's desperate behavior.
Detective Perry called the number connected to Titan's microchip, expecting a simple conversation: confirm ownership, return the dog, close the loop. Instead, what he heard raised every red flag he had. A woman answered, breathless and hurried. "Hi, this is Mandy. I got a message that you found my dog." Her tone was strange, more annoyed than relieved. Still, Perry stayed polite, easing his way into basic questions. Where did Titan run off? When did she last see him? How far had she traveled? But her answers felt off from the start. She claimed she was driving from San Marcos to Wichita, Kansas. Then she changed it, saying she was going to Wichita but had stopped in Waco. Then later, she insisted she lived in San Marcos but had been traveling with her fiancé. But when asked where the fiancé was, she gave yet another contradictory story. Her timeline bounced around like a pinball. Midnight, maybe 1 a.m., maybe earlier, she wasn't sure. And with every question, she got sharper, snapping, deflecting, accusing the detective of interrogating her over a missing dog. But Perry's instincts were already screaming. Titan had not been found on a road or in a neighborhood. He had been found standing beside a burning body, refusing to leave. Something connected that dog to that victim. So gently, he tried again. "Mandy, I just need to know where Titan got away from you." The woman cut him off, voice suddenly shaking with anger. "Detective, you are being very pushy. I'm at work. I'm not going to spend all day answering questions. I'll come get Titan myself." Then she hung up. Detective Perry stared at the phone. Something was deeply wrong. Less than an hour later, he called back. This time, deciding she needed to hear the truth. And when he told her Titan was found at a crime scene beside a deceased person, her reaction was strange. Not horrified, not devastated, just startled enough to sound believable. After confirming the burned body belonged to Mandy Rose Reynolds, investigators focused on the next puzzle piece, her missing Honda Accord. It didn't stay hidden for long. Late on April 8, 2023, 3 days after the body was found, a camera on a Wichita, Kansas roadway captured the car traveling north. Police immediately swarmed the area, scanning traffic, checking side streets, and alerting nearby units. It didn't take long before an officer spotted it. A black Honda, matching plates, moving fast. He flicked on his lights, preparing for a routine stop. But the driver had no intention of stopping. The Honda bolted. Engine roaring, tires screaming, it shot forward like the person behind the wheel had been waiting for this moment, expecting it. The pursuit escalated instantly. The suspect weaved through traffic, blowing past intersections, nearly clipping other drivers as speed soared over 100 miles per hour. Wichita officers radioed updates in tense bursts, their voices layered with sirens and adrenaline. "He's taking off, vehicle fleeing, high rate of speed, everyone use caution." Spike strips were requested, intersections cleared. More units joined the chase as the Honda barreled through the night. For nearly 30 minutes, the suspect tore through Wichita streets, at times swerving into oncoming lanes, other times ducking into side roads before bursting back onto major highways. Helicopters weren't available, meaning ground units had to keep eyes on him at all times. But the suspect wasn't just reckless. He was desperate. And that desperation finally made him slip. Near a grocery store plaza, the Honda misjudged a corner and crashed hard, slamming into a parked vehicle. The front end crumpled. Steam hissed from beneath the hood. But the driver still didn't give up. He jumped out, sprinted across the parking lot, and burst through the sliding doors of a grocery store, disappearing between aisles before officers even cleared their vehicles. Shoppers scattered, screaming. A mother shielded her kids. Employees ducked behind counters as police stormed inside. "He's still in the store. He's hiding, watch the shelves." Officers fanned out, sweeping aisle by aisle. Minutes passed. Then, one officer heard it. A faint noise. Something shifting. Metal, clinking softly. A signal. They converged on a section of shelving, cautiously moving forward with firearms drawn. And there he was, folded behind canned goods, pressed against the wall, breathing heavily, the man who had led them across half the city. Hands shaking, clothes damp with sweat, a lighter falling from his pocket as he tried to crawl away. Officers dragged him out from behind the shelf and cuffed him on the floor. He didn't give a name at first, but they already knew who he was. Derek Joseph Dagno, 27 years old, Mandy's cousin. A man with a violent past stretching back to his teenage years. And when police searched Mandy's car, the truth shattered any remaining doubt. Inside the vehicle was the pistol used to kill her. Derek Dagno hadn't just run. He had tried to erase every trace of Mandy's life, including her body. But Titan, her loyal dog, refused to let that happen. When investigators unraveled Derek's past, they uncovered a chilling trail of violence and the final moments Mandy never saw coming.
With Derek Joseph Dagno finally in custody, investigators shifted their focus from the chase to the motive. Why would a man kill his own cousin? Why would he burn her body and impersonate her over the phone? To understand that, detectives had to go backwards into Derek's history, his movements, and his relationship with Mandy. And what they uncovered painted a chilling picture. Derek wasn't just troubled, he was dangerous. His criminal record stretched back to when he was only 15 years old, 9 felony convictions, including violent offenses. One of the most alarming incidents involved a shooting he committed as a juvenile in Kansas. After years of moving between states, violating probation, and drifting from one location to another, Derek managed to slip through the cracks in the system more times than anyone realized. But despite that darkness, Mandy had tried to help him. Friends and family described Mandy Rose Reynolds as the kind of person who always wanted to lift others up. Creative, generous, kind. She had recently moved to Texas from Idaho, excited for a fresh start, considering college, and eager to build a new life. So when Derek reached out, claiming he needed help, claiming he needed a place to stay, Mandy didn't hesitate. She opened her door to him. She believed he deserved another chance. She didn't know the danger she was bringing into her home. Surveillance footage, later obtained by investigators, revealed the first cracks in Derek's intentions. Days before Mandy's murder, he was caught on store cameras purchasing a gas can, a shovel, and a large plastic storage container, items no one buys without a plan. And that plan turned out to be deadly. Inside Mandy's San Marcos apartment, investigators found evidence that told the real story. Derek had shot her, execution style, before transporting her body in the container. Titan, Mandy's beloved dog, was taken with them, likely confused and terrified. That same container was found partially melted at the crime scene in Robinson, Texas, the place where Derek had attempted to burn Mandy's remains. He had driven her across hundreds of miles, intending to erase her completely. But he didn't expect Titan to escape. He didn't expect the dog to stay beside Mandy, refusing to abandon her even in death. And he certainly didn't expect Titan to lead police straight to the truth. Meanwhile, Derek fled north toward Kansas, trying to outrun what he'd done. But every move he made only tightened the net around him. It didn't take long for all evidence, digital, physical, forensic, to converge into one inescapable fact. Derek murdered the cousin who had tried to save him from his own life. And in a few months, he would face justice in a courtroom that would witness tension, heartbreak, and the final collapse of his freedom forever. And in the end, it took only 30 minutes for the jury to decide Derek's fate. And what happened after the verdict shocked everyone in the courtroom.
By the time Derek Joseph Dagno stood trial, the case against him was overwhelming. Every piece of evidence, every recording, every photograph, every forensic report, fit together with brutal clarity. But even so, the courtroom held a tension that felt almost electric. Family members from both sides filled the benches. Some prayed quietly. Others watched Derek with anger boiling behind their eyes. And as the trial unfolded, the jury learned just how deeply the betrayal ran. Prosecutors presented the full timeline: the gas can Derek bought, the plastic container used to transport Mandy, the shovel, the pistol recovered from Mandy's Honda Accord, and the surreal phone call where Derek pretended to be Mandy trying to reclaim Titan. Then came the surveillance footage, the visual proof showing Derek purchasing items used in the murder. The jury watched the chase through Wichita. They listened to the 911 call from the night Mandy's body was found. They heard officers describe the heartbreaking sight of Titan crying beside his owner. Piece by piece, the truth formed a picture too horrifying for anyone in the courtroom to ignore. Mandy had opened her home to help her cousin.